Hey guys, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I thought I would do a little sit-down, chit-chat, live video with you guys to show you how I use the Tombow Fudenosuke brush tips in the soft and hard thickness. These are the pens I will be using. This is the hard tip and this is the soft tip, and I thought I would just show you the differences in them, how I use them for different kinds of small lettering, and if you're a complete beginner, this will also show you how to just start using them. To start off, I want to use the hard nib because I personally think that it is a little bit easier to use comparatively to the soft nib because it's a little bit smaller and it's just a lot easier to control when you are a complete beginner with brush lettering. So the first thing with brush lettering that I always try to tell people when I'm trying to teach them is, and this is all stuff that I had to teach myself throughout 5 years of bullet journaling, so don't feel, bad if you have to replay a few of these clips a few times to kind of understand it, because it is quite a difficult concept to wrap your head around, and it took me 5 years to get to the point where I'm at, which is not even master, so don't worry about that. So the first thing I do is the downstrokes, and this is incredibly important in calligraphy, is the downstrokes are thicker than the upstrokes. And so what that means is it's just thicker than the upstroke, and that is what gives you the beautiful contrast in the small lettering, especially because you're using smaller letters, therefore it has to be a big difference to look beautiful like that. So I want you to practice just doing thick downstrokes, and what I do in order to achieve this is some people push harder to get the thicker downstrokes, but I find that kind of frays the pen tip a little bit. So what I have started doing is just rotating the pen a little bit, so more like this, like at a sideways thing like this, because I'm putting very little pressure on it, but it's still giving me that really thick downstroke. So I just rotate the pen a little bit like this with control and try to do a thick line for the downstrokes. So if you're live doing this with me, just go ahead and practice turning the pen like this and getting those thick strokes as so. You can add a little curve at the end because that will take us right into the transition, which we will be doing later in this video. But just practice a few times doing sideways, thick downstrokes like that. After that, we're going to move on to upstrokes, which is this beautiful part right here, which is super thin compared to the downstrokes we were just practicing. And what I do for these thin upstrokes is I rotate the pen a little bit more forward like this. So it's on the very tip, using the very, very small part right there to get the super thin upstroke. So you just very lightly rotate the pen more like this as opposed to sideways, and very lightly just do some upstrokes like that. And like I said, over time it will get a lot easier to control the movement and the thin and thickness of it all, but this is really the whole concept of lettering, the thin and thick contrast. So once you master this, I promise it is so much easier than it looks. So once you feel like you have mastered the thin, light, dainty upstrokes, we move on to connecting these two. And so this is where we will use the little lip right here to connect to the thin upstroke and this little lip right here to connect to the downstroke. So what I'm going to do is in two pieces. The first part is the thick downstroke, so go ahead and rotate the pen like that and do a little lip like that. Just a few of those, and leave some space in between so that I can show you the upstrokes. And once you do about 4 or 5 of those, we're going to go in and rotate the pen again and just connect it to a thin upstroke. Just like that. We're just creating a U kind of shape because U's are pretty universal when learning how to do it. Just a few more of those. Oops. And when you're doing real calligraphy, you usually wouldn't pick your pen up like we're doing, but I'm just trying to show you what in the end it is supposed to look like. A very thin line on the upstroke and thick downstroke, and soon you will learn how to do this transition right here, because that is the hardest part, getting it to go from the thick to the thin, and in turn getting it to go from the thin to the thick, which is what we're about to do right now. So I want you to practice the upstrokes that we've been doing, just like this, and then rotate the pen and do some downstrokes. So now we've got some arches and some U's to be our little examples. And again, it doesn't take any pressure, it's just simply turning the pen sideways. So once you have done these two different variations, I'm going to show you how I transition right here in these little circles from the thin to the thick, because that is probably the hardest part of making it look smooth. It's pretty easy to do the down and upstrokes, but getting it to transition, especially when you start going a little bit faster and connecting your words without picking your pen up, it can be a little bit hard. So now what we're going to do is practice some upper and lowercase letters by not picking our pen up, or for the first few, we can practice doing them separate just to know what they'll look like. So we'll do an A, that is what our example is going to look like. And there are a few parts to this. The first is the upstroke right here, which is super thin. The second is the downstroke curve, then the thin upstroke, and then we will turn our pen again to do this. And then if you want, you can leave it like that, but I like adding a little up on that to make it look a little bit curly. And this is just my style of calligraphy, but you will find once you get through years and years, you start to develop your own styles. So don't even pay attention to what mine looks like, really, because soon you will have your own version of your alphabet. And as soon as you start getting more comfortable with the easy rotation of your wrist, really, is how I move the pen, you will start just going faster and making it look smoother. And then you can start doing fun little curly Q thingies, making it look really cool, all this different kinds of stuff. You can really just start to do your own little alphabet. So once you've mastered the lowercase, I will show you how I do the uppercase A, thin upstroke, and then slowly just slope into a beautiful thick downstroke. And there's my A. And believe it or not, this is exactly what we were practicing up here. You can turn any of these little arches into an A by adding a little flip at the end and a little side stroke. Now we can move on to some B's. The B is a good example of a more difficult word to letter because it's got some more loops in it, and it takes a little bit more control. So first thing is the thin upstroke like that. Then you merge into a thick downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, and then upstroke like that. And that gives you just a beautiful curly B. If you want to see how I do it in fluid motion, here are some examples. And sometimes your pen will little skip like that, but that is just the pen. And over time your pen will start to get a little bit less shaky. Mine is still a little bit shaky there because it catches on the paper. And then you can start doing different styles of B's if you like not such a curly one, or if you like more like that, or the opposite, smaller and then a big, stuff like that. It's really up to you what your style of calligraphy is. Here we'll do some uppercase. I do a thick downstroke right there, thin, thick, thick, And then I just finish it out with a little bit of curl right there. Fluid motion. And that is that. Now I'm going to show you guys some letters with the soft tip Tombow. It is just a little bit thicker and yeah, just a minute difference there, but it really does show a difference in the size of the letters because the soft tip, which is the all black one, is really hard to get a thin, not shaky upstroke. So with this one, you have to be super careful or just do bigger letters. So I'm just doing those U's. And as you can see, my straight lines up here are a lot thinner than they are down here. And it's not pressure-wise, it's just the fact that this pen isn't meant to be so tiny as the hard tip. The soft tip means that it's used to doing a little bit bigger and more fluid alphabets. I personally use the hard tip a lot more than the soft tip because I think it is just a bit easier to control. Like, look at this one right here. This is not a very thin upstroke at all, so, but that's just the pen, right? So I would recommend for beginners using the hard tip, of course. So if we do some letters, do a thin upstroke, thick downstroke, thin upstroke, just like that. And see, it's a little bit bigger of a letter, not intentionally. It's a little bit messier because it is a harder to control. And if you do B's, see how this is super shaky and not the best? And this takes a long time to master, so like I said, please don't try to beat yourself up about if it doesn't look amazing right now, because chances are you're just starting or this is your first time attempting lettering with these pens, and you really shouldn't compare yourself to anybody a little bit further along in their journey like me, 5 years in, and this is where I am. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like this, like how-to lettering videos, stuff like this, just let me know in the comments down below and by liking this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bullet journal and lettering content like this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!